Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today we are talking about that Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, which I am of two minds on. People are very upset, I think. And I think part of that is kind of justified because this Direct didn't really give us any answers to the questions that as Nintendo fans we have been waiting for. There was no release dates for basically any of the games we've been waiting for. No Elden Ring release date, no Final Fantasy VII Remake. We saw Age of Imprisonment, and that still was just like, hey, it's coming out in winter. But on the other hand, depending on what type of gamer you are, if you like RPGs, there was a lot of really cool stuff for me here. Monster Hunter Stories 3 opening, that's a really strong opener. I like Stories 2 a lot from what I played. Of course, ending with those two Square Enix games being The Adventures of Elliot, which looks awesome, one of my most anticipated games of 2026 immediately, but also Octopath Zero releasing later this year. There was definitely cool stuff in this Direct, at least for me. However, I think if you have been waiting for that big moment for the Switch 2 that you just bought back in June, this big unloading of AAA support, this really wasn't that. This felt like any other Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase where, yes, there's always these very cool announcements, and I think if I compare them to other partner showcases, it would be about the same, if not a little bit more for this one, because there are those bigger ports like Persona 3 Reload and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but ultimately, almost nothing here felt like it couldn't be done on Switch 1, right? These all feel like the types of announcements we are used to in these showcases. We didn't get any release dates for the third-party stuff we've been waiting on, like Hades 2. And while I'm very excited for the Square Enix games and Monster Hunter and even Plants vs. Zombies, that's what I've been waiting for, this Direct really just didn't move the needle, I feel like, in terms of like what it means to own a Switch 2 and what kind of software we can expect on it. But that's what we're doing in today's video. We're going to go over every game that was shown in this partner showcase and just kind of talk about how we feel about each thing. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 discussions, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. Let's get into it. Alright, so I know reactions online are pretty negative for this Nintendo Direct. I definitely came out of this with quite a few games that I'm excited for, but I just feel like we've been waiting so long for release dates for Elden Ring and Final Fantasy VII and Age of Imprisonment, so to not get them is just very weird. But this Direct did have some pretty cool stuff in it. I would love to hear what you think and what your favorite announcements were in the comments down below. But they opened with Monster Hunter Stories 3 coming in 2026, I believe to all platforms, so not an exclusive or anything. In fact, I think there were basically no third-party exclusives here, which is fine, right? We want as many people to play these great games as possible. But they opened with Monster Hunter Stories 3 coming in 2026 from Capcom. From what I played of Stories 2, I really enjoyed that game, so that's a solid opener. Not much gameplay here, but really nice visuals, good cel-shaded, like anime-style graphics. I think this looks pretty cool. Definitely one I have my eye on. I think we'll probably get this early 2026 because we should be getting a Wilds expansion next year as well. I feel like that would be a little bit later in the year, but we will see what happens there. But a solid opener, I would say. But once again, the kind of thing we just are used to from a partner showcase. I thought this partner showcase was going to show us things that were not possible on Switch 1. New partnerships from Nintendo and third parties that we just hadn't really seen before. But it's just a lot of the same stuff we've kind of been expecting from these partner showcases, if that makes sense. Not that that's a bad thing, just not really what I expected. The second game they showed was Once Upon a Katamari. I actually had this in my predictions yesterday. This looks really cool, but a bit of a weird one because it's only on Switch 1, and let's be real, they kind of look a little framey, right? A little pop in there. Online multiplayer, which is very cool. I think that's new for the Katamari series. This is releasing in October. Definitely one I'm excited for. I like the different like little Katamari princes that you can play as. There's like a horse costume at one point. This is one I'm definitely going to be checking out, and kind of, you know, a theming of these recent Nintendo Directs, at least for Switch 1 stuff. Bandai Namco's kind of like carrying a little bit in terms of like these old franchise revivals and new entries and things you're not expecting. So Once Upon a Katamari, pretty cool. I wish there was a Switch 2 version, but still nice to finally get a new Katamari game. Then they showed Just Dance 2026. Can't say I care too much about that, but the pacing for this Direct was kind of all over the place because we would get like two cool announcements and then they would show a sports game or Just Dance or just something, let's be real, most people watching a Nintendo Direct probably don't really care about, but I guess it makes sense. They have contracts, they gotta show these things. So yeah, Just Dance 2026. No Switch 2 version, by the way, if you were hoping for a Switch 2 version of Just Dance. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to wait until next year for that. Then we got a port, another one that I was definitely expecting, and that is Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, releasing, I think it's November 14th. What I was not expecting with this is that there's also a Switch 1 version. Now, I'm not sure if what they were showing was Switch 1 or Switch 2 footage. I think it was Switch 2, didn't look that good. Like, the frame rate seems solid, but the actual characters and, like, the textures and, like, the aliasing, I guess, on them looked a little crusty, a little crunchy for what I expected from a Switch 2 version of this game. So I can't even imagine what the Switch 1 version of this will look like. But either way, Sparking Zero, that's one I've been saying will come to Switch 2 this year for a while now. And I'm happy to see that I was right. This game's very good. This game's going to sell very well on both Switch 1 and Switch 2. I'm sure even if it doesn't run great on Switch 1, it's still going to sell very well. Dragon Ball games will Nintendo do extremely well, so it's nice to have this on here, and moving forward, we should get, hopefully, day and dates anime games and Dragon Ball games from Bandai Namco. So once again, Bandai Namco, the goats of this direct. Next up, we finally had the reveal of Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. This is also coming out in October. Very excited for this. Been waiting for a while since it leaked back in March. Doesn't seem like they changed too much. You know, it's widescreen now, HD. They had this cute little cinematic with a pea shooter and Crazy Dave. They said there's new co-op and PvP stuff. I'm curious what the new co-op is, because PvZ had co-op on PS3, actually, but it was, like, not great co-op. And then for the PvP, we'll have to wait and see what that actually is, but doesn't seem like they're changing too much, just adding a little bit to the core PvZ experience, which is great. PvZ, one of my favorite games of all time. Very happy it's finally coming to modern platforms. I'll be buying this on Switch 2 and PS5. Got to get those trophies, but also have that handheld experience, a game I replay very often. So very happy that finally got announced. We got our trailer for EA Sports FC. Not much to say there. It looks solid. I mean, I don't play these sports games, but this looks like a pretty competent port. I think this is our first footage of it as well. Pac-Man World Repack 2. This is one we've been waiting for a while. We got Repack back in 2022. This is a full remake of Pac-Man World 2 from the PS2 and GameCube. Looks pretty solid. Coming out in September, so very soon. Once again, Bandai Namco. They're the goats of this direct. If you like their games, there's so much here. Because on top of that, I mean, they didn't show it again, at least not in the American direct, but we also have the golf game, Everybody's Golf, coming out in September. And there's also that Toa and the Guardians kind of niche game from them coming out in September as well. So Bandai Namco has a lot of cool, smaller stuff that really speaks to me coming out very soon. This is one that I need to play Repack 1 first, but I'll probably end up checking this out on Switch 2 because I thought it looked pretty good. We did get a new trailer for Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, as well as confirmation of a free upgrade. I think we might have known that already, but if you go on the eShop, you can see that there is a free upgrade. You can, like, preload the free update already, so that's nice. Square Enix doing some weird stuff with their upgrades, so nice that there is something there for that. If you want to buy it on Switch 1, not a game key card, and then get the upgrade that way, you can do that. And then we finally got the announcement of Persona 3 Reload coming to Switch. Once again, I think I specifically said October in my predictions, and it is coming out in October. The specific date is October 23rd, so same day as PvZ. Looks like a solid port. I already have this on PS5, so not something I will likely get, at least not at launch, because it is $60. But still, I know Persona fans are very happy. I'm waiting for Metaphor. I really want to get Metaphor on Switch 2, so hopefully that comes early next year. But nice to see Atlas kind of just getting on board early. We already have Rido. I would like to see patches for, like, SMT5 and Persona 5. That'd be really cool. But still, Persona 3 Reload, nice to see that coming to Switch 2. The Episode Aegis DLC is a separate purchase, so keep that in mind. For the full Persona 3 Reload experience on Switch 2, at least at launch anyway, it's going to be $90. But these games go on sale pretty quickly. I would say if you're interested, maybe wait for, like, Black Friday just a month later. Even by then, I imagine it'll be a little bit cheaper. And then we got the most baffling trailer in the entire showcase to me, and that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Now, I think I'll do a separate video tomorrow talking about, like, well, I hate to be that guy, but when is the next direct? Because they showed a trailer for Age of Imprisonment. It looks good, looks solid, frame rate, resolution, all that. It looks like it's running pretty well. It looks like it's in a pretty finalized state, I imagine. But also, we didn't get a release date. Why did they even bother showing it if they don't have a release date ready? I just don't understand, because what they showed was cool, but there wasn't, like, that much. I mean, they teased some gameplay of the sages. They showed a bit of Minoru's construct, but no release date. But they did reaffirm it's still coming out this winter. It just seems so weird to even bother showing this if they didn't have more to show, but also a release date, especially if it is still coming out this winter. Does that mean 2025, or is that going to be an early 2026 game? I still lean towards it's going to be in 2025. I just think it's going to be late, like December even. We'll see what ends up happening, but this game having a trailer but not getting dated has made me very confident in a September Direct. I don't think we're doing the Mario anniversary thing. I think we will just get a general Nintendo Direct in September, because there were also third-party announcements missing here that we kind of know are coming, like a new Tales of remaster. Bandai Namco said that a new Tales of remaster was getting announced this summer, and that didn't pop up. So on top of that, on top of Hyrule Warriors not having a date, on top of no dates for Elden Ring or Final Fantasy VII, I think it's pretty clear we're getting something else in the very near future. So early September, I would say, for a general direct, but we'll do a whole separate video talking about that and why I fully think that. I think tomorrow probably. But yeah, Age of Imprisonment, definitely a weak showing. I don't really know why it even popped up here. We got a new trailer for Madden 26. Sure, looks solid. I'm not gonna play this on Switch 2, but I'm sure there are a lot of people happy that Madden is back on Nintendo, so that's pretty cool. Then they announced a Switch 2 exclusive that got shadow dropped today. We have Chillin' by the Campfire. This is a very basic game where you just hang out by a campfire with your friends using your Switch 2 cameras, and you can share stories, and there's like some fireworks effects that you can do, and you can make marshmallows. This is a $15 game. I don't know, man. I feel like if this were like a $5 thing, maybe I would check it out with my friends or something, but at $15, that's just too much for what it looks like this is actually offering. It feels like, I don't know, just play VR chat or something. I guess you want to have something on Switch 2, but also you can just hang out in a game chat. You don't need to buy a game to just sit there by a campfire. It just feels so weird. And they showed it for like a while too, like 2 or 3 minutes of this direct was this campfire game that it's available now, which is cool, I guess, but for $15, definitely a pass for me. Next up, we had confirmation of a Switch 2 version releasing, I think, on August 5th for Apex Legends. This one makes sense. Apex Legends, I feel like I don't see too many people talking about it these days, but still a popular battle royale. This looks like a pretty solid Switch 2 port, I have to say. The Switch 1 version of this game isn't that great, but this looks like a solid, competent version of Apex Legends on Switch 2, which is, that's good. It makes sense to get this on there. We already have Fortnite that got its Switch 2 update. Some people in my stream chat, when I reacted to it, were hoping for like Marvel Rivals in this, which would have certainly been more exciting to finally get that on Nintendo, but still, Apex Legends, cool to see AA showing up early with some support there. I would have expected more from them, though, I think, in terms of like maybe a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order port or something, but still, nice to see that getting a patch for Switch 2. There was this new mouse game called Hella, where it's like a co-op, kind of like It Takes Two or Split Fiction from that team, not by that team. It's a 4-player co-op game. Reminded me a bit of Unravel, if you remember that game from EA, but like if it were 3D and you played as a mouse. Looks pretty cute. Something I'll definitely check out with Olivia. Fun little cozy co-op platformer adventure game. That's going to be pretty neat. That comes out in 2026. We got a trailer for Star Wars Outlaws, which once again, like we know this is already coming out very soon, September 4th or 5th. It's soon. We've already seen a little bit of it, but they showed more here. Feel like it didn't need a full trailer. In the Japanese direct, it was just part of a sizzle reel, which definitely feels more apt, I feel like, for what this game is. But they showed a full trailer for it. I think this port looks fine. Some of like the textures and like the hair on the main character specifically looks a little weird, but it looks like a fine port of this game, open world Star Wars game. I've heard some okay things about it, but I've also heard some mixed things, so not one I will probably check out, but we'll see. Kind of interesting. Wasn't expecting this to pop up here, so Bloober Team, the team that did Silent Hill 2 Remake, showed up with a new trailer for Chronos: The New Dawn, coming to Switch 2 very soon, September 5th. This is a new sci-fi horror game. Once again, this looks fine, solid ports. I would need to see a side-by-side comparing it to PS5. I'm sure it looks much better on PC and PS5, but cool to see Bloober Team popping up early in the Switch 2's life with this day and date release with the other platforms. That's what we like to see from third parties on this scale. Hopefully we see more of that in the future. And after Chronos comes out, I would like to see them go back and do Silent Hill 2, maybe next year or something. Silent Hill F would also be nice, not by them, but Chronos looks cool. Definitely one I'll check out, but maybe the PS5 version. Very much getting Dead Space vibes from this trailer. Next up, the Yakuza saga continues on Nintendo Switch 2. We are getting Yakuza Kiwami 2 on November 13th. Nice to see them just going in order and doing all of the games. However, it's not just Yakuza Kiwami 2 because, as I predicted in my video yesterday, we are also getting a port of Kiwami 1, which is already on Switch, but now we're getting a Switch 2 upgrade that'll make the game look and run a little bit better. So, happy to see Sega and RGG continuing to bring all of these games over. If we get one like every 6 months, which is the current cadence, it's going to take a long time for them to catch up, but that's fine. Maybe they do 3, 4, and 5 all at the same time because that's already sold as a collection on PlayStation and Xbox, so that would help us catch up a little bit sooner, but still happy to see these games continuing to come, even if it is more or less expected at this point. I think every direct is going to have a Yakuza game announcement. Then we got a sizzle reel showing Borderlands 4, as I expected. Looks fine. This NBA bounce game doesn't look very good. They actually shadow dropped a demo for that new Shinobi game, which is funny because Ninja Gaiden Ragebound just came out today, and they're very similar in what types of games they are, right? 2D ninja side-scrolling games. I think Shinobi's more of like a Metroidvania, though, whereas Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, I want to say, is like stage-based. New Hello Kitty Island Adventure DLC, but no Switch 2 version is odd. This one piqued my interest. Romancing Saga 2, the remake from last year from Square Enix, had a Switch 2 edition shadow drop today. $10 upgrade if you already own it. Very cool. I've heard fantastic things about that game. Like, I've seen people say that's like one of the best RPGs of like the past decade. I don't know how true that is, but still, happy to see it coming to Switch 2 with better, resolution and frame rates. Definitely one I still need to get to, but there's just so many RPGs. And then we had our two closers, very exciting stuff, once again from Square Enix. So the first thing they showed was The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, I want to say. This is coming in 2026 to all platforms. Well, I don't think it's coming to Switch 1, but Switch 2 and then PS5 and Xbox and PC. This is a new game in the style of Octopath. However, it is an action-adventure game. This looks sick. There's actually a demo available right now, so as soon as I'm done this video, I'm going to go play that and do an impressions on my second channel, so stay tuned for that. But I think this looks really cool, taking the HD 2D formula, making it an action-adventure game. I'm glad to see them continuing to expand the HD 2D, type of game, right, with more genres, because at first I saw this, I thought it was going to be an Octopath game because there was actually a leak about Octopath Zero, which we'll get to in just a second. I thought this was going to be another Octopath game. I thought it was going to be turn-based, but no, we're getting this whole separate IP in the same art style, but it's an action-adventure game. There's like 2-player co-op with the fairy. Looks very cool. Nice to see them trying something different, and definitely one of my most anticipated games of 2026, at least having seen the trailer, having not played the demo, but we'll see if that demo changes my opinion on that. This was a great game as one of like the closers of the Direct. I think they should have swapped these though, because the next game they announced was Octopath Traveler 0. This is seemingly more of like a spin-off to Octopath. It has town building elements. It looks like it's taking elements from both Octopath 1 and Octopath 2. Coming out very soon on December 4th. This is already coming out. I didn't expect that at all. It did leak right before the presentation, so unfortunately wasn't a huge surprise. But closing on 2 Square Enix HD 2D games, I mean, for me personally, they're speaking to my tastes, right? Like, this is exactly the type of stuff that I want to see from a Nintendo Direct. I get it's not for everybody, though, so if you don't like these 2 announcements in particular, or like Monster Hunter Stories, really weak Direct. Because in terms of like the big ports we were all expecting, Persona 3 and Dragon Ball, those were really the only 2. I mean, Chronos was a nice surprise, but it wasn't really in the conversation. If you don't like RPGs, I think this was a pretty bad Nintendo Direct. But there are other announcements in there, like Once Upon a Katamari and Pac-Man World 2 Repack. But once again, those are Switch 1 games. It feels weird for the first third-party showcase after the Switch 2 came out to really just be a lot of Switch 1 stuff. Even Octopath Traveler 0, that's coming to Switch 1, which is fine. I mean, this game I'm sure can run fine on Switch 1. It just feels like you would want to like do more to like really sell people like, okay, this is why you bought a Switch 2. I'm personally fine with what was shown. There's a lot of games here I'm going to pick up and play on my Switch 2. But to the people like upset with what this Direct was and what was shown and what's announced and what's coming out later this year and what wasn't shown, I can't really blame you for being upset with this. I mean, ultimately, yeah, let's just go play video games and enjoy ourselves until the next Direct and then get our hopes up again. But like, it just feels like the wrong showcase at the wrong time, you know? If we had more dates for the games that were announced in April, I would feel very differently about that, I think. But because we don't know about Elden Ring or 7 Remake or Hyrule Warriors showing up here with no date is still insane, or even Prime 4 and Kirby Air Riders, as a Nintendo fan and as someone who primarily has been playing on Switch 2 since it released, it just feels weird to get all this new stuff and like early 2026 stuff and not get dates for those. So a lot of questions still in the air. I do think we are getting a September Direct. I will do a video on that very soon. But let me know your thoughts on this showcase in the comments down below. What games are you excited for? Once again, for me, the highlights are The Adventures of Elliot, Octopath Zero, Monster Hunter Stories, Once Upon a Katamari, and of course, my beloved PvZ. Very happy that Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Kiwami 1 are coming to Switch 2. Very happy about Persona 3 Reload and Dragon Ball. But I would say aside from Adventures of Elliot, there was nothing in this Direct that really wowed me in terms of like, oh, that's a crazy unexpected thing. And even Adventures of Elliot, I wasn't expecting a new game from them right now, let alone 2. But even that, it's still like, I mean, it's an HD 2D game. It's kind of a known quantity, even if I am very excited for it. So conflicted feelings on this Nintendo Direct, but let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch 2 discussions. Follow me on my other YouTube channel at It's Amiibo, where I post more reviews and collecting style contents. A lot of game key cards announced after this Direct. Dragon Ball, Persona. I think Yakuza will probably be limited run, but we will see there. But yeah, until next time, folks. Peace.